We said that in making any data science project, we first have to understand and identify the kind of value, be it a business value, be it environmental value, or any social value that your certain data science project can give you. So we said that we have to consider some things. So we said that we have to always understand and identify who our end users would be, and we need to include them in knowing and shaping and creating the kind of value we can give. And also we said that we have to choose the kind of applications, the kind of techniques that we are going to use for our project. So we said that we should not automatically consider the use of artificial intelligence applications into our project. It's because not in all cases we can use AI, not in all cases we can use machine learning or even deep learning. But there are some considerations that we have to always think about. So we said that in our previous lesson, and if you are new to this channel, please don't forget to subscribe because we do have a lot of lessons for you guys, and all of these lessons can give you free lessons, great insights that can help you in your data science journey. So please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So making a data science project is not actually a one-man job. It's because there are a lot of people that you need to consider to put every perspective in order so that your project would become convincing and it becomes very useful and practical for the company and of course for the end users. So there are three persons that we need to consider. So when I say three persons, these are actually what we call the stakeholders. And what do we mean when we say stakeholders? So when we say stakeholders, this refers to the persons, be it a natural or an entity that can benefit from your project, or these can be the persons who are involved in making of the project. So let's have number one. Our first stakeholder is in the company itself, and he or she is the company manager. And why do we have to include the company manager in our project? It's because first and foremost, he knows the kind of value that a company needs to derive from the project, be it in the case of having an increase of sales if we are talking about business. This is very understandable because no company would ever invest in something that it can never get something in return. A company can never thrive or exist so without these considerations. So it's really very important that at the end of the day, the company would have a monetary compensations out of its investment. And for the company to put forward its benefits, the company manager has to put into the table the kind of value that the company is expecting from the project. For the company manager to identify the kind of value or the added value a certain project can give to the company, he or she has to ask himself or herself the following questions. What is the ultimate business value of this kind of project? Assessing the losses and gains. Will the company have more gains than losses? This is in situations where there would be losses. And of course, losses can be something that we have to expect, but it's something that we need not hope for. The next question that he or she has to ask is this project in line with the company's vision and mission? It's because when it does not align with the company's mission and vision, then most probably the company would lose from it. And so with this respect, it's better to just leave this kind of project behind rather than just forcing yourself to do the project and would result to something which is really nothing on the part of the company. The next person that we are going to involve in the project is the end user. And maybe you would like to ask me, so it's because we're going to involve the end user in the data science project, does it mean to say that we're going to call one by one of our end users? Well, the answer for this kind of question is actually no. So what we mean here by involving our end user is we're going to have at least one domain expert in the team. So this domain expert would be able to characterize the kind of behavior, the kind of demand our end users will have. Because at the end of the day, if the model that we could come up with does not align with the demands of our end users, then everything would still be nothing. Everything from the very beginning of the project would still be very meaningless because the end users will never use it, they will never consume it. So it will be a waste of money and our time in doing something that is not very helpful, and not to mention the kind of effort that we will put into the project. And this is really something that is really very valuable. In fact, it has no monetary equivalent. So with respect to this, it is always very important to have our reference or support from the value the end users will have. So in this case, as you could see, we have two considerations with respect to the kind of value that we could get from the project. The first one is the value that an organization or the company may get from the project, and the second value would be that the value that the end users will benefit from. And this kind of value will be identified by the executive expert or someone who is knowledgeable in a certain domain. So it's going to be a win-win solution. I believe that would be the best scenario when we're going to weigh the value on the part of the company or of the organization and the value on the part of the end users. And I believe it will not always be the value on top of any other value that the company can derive from. Because at the end of the day, if our end users will never benefit from the project, our company can never benefit too. And of course, these persons are very important to make the project very possible because they are going to assess whether or not a certain project would be successful based on the different attributes or characteristics, or in a technical term, we can call it variables. So these persons are the data scientists. So they will deal with the data. They're going to apply different algorithms and they will choose which one will give the best fit for the data. And here in this case, when the data scientist can come up with a certain model, the question would be, will this kind of model be automatically adopted by the company? No, of course not. That's the best answer to the question. And why it is not? The reason for this is it's because there can be some situations wherein the model being modeled or created by the data scientist is not applicable, especially when what is really at stake is the experience, the intuition of the person who has a domain expert in the subject matter of the project. So it is very important for the data scientists, the executive expert, the company manager to have a meeting from time to time so that they would be able to discuss whether or not to pursue a certain algorithm or to adapt it, and what are these things that need to be changed or managed so as to adapt to what is really the real situations based on what is experienced by the expert and what is shown by the real data based on the end users. And so with this, it is always very important to understand the objectives of the project, because these objectives are going to give the proper guidance and light as to what steps to be undertaken, what adjustments to be considered, and how a certain project should be evaluated. And it could be that in some cases a company does not have an internal data science team. So I suggest when your company is like this, you could outsource the service of an expert. Do you want to know more about this channel? Just click the card on your right screen and you can enjoy a lot of our learning resources. You can learn from our mastering machine learning algorithm, deep learning mathematics, natural language processing, data science tips, and many more. You can always learn and upskill for free.